In this video, I'm going to show you how to select a Magic Aire fan coil using the new Magic software based off of a schedule. All right, so this is what the software looks like once you launch it. I'm just going to go through a schedule and go through the different steps so you know how to basically select and price up fan coils. So I'm going to just do this the way I would normally do it and just kind of talk my way through it. So I'm going to create a new job, and then you'll see up at the top, you'll see the different tabs, and you'll just go from left to right. I'm not going to fill out everything because in this industry we're always pressed for time, but I'm just going to go through all the important information that we need to get in there. So I have a sample project. It's called STK Westwood, which is a steakhouse. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the job name. Everything else you can fill in if you have the time, but I usually don't. Client, this is what I'll always fill in. So we sell to distributors only, distributors and reps only. So we don't quote to contractors. They have to go get their pricing through distributors or reps. Magic Aire, we can price out to anybody, but depending on the distributor, they get a different multiplier. So I'll get into all of that too. So let's just pretend Sigler and US Air are probably the two distributors that we quote Magic Aire to the most. I'll go and just use Sigler as an example. Comment or contact name, I'll just pick Michael Mendoza. And then everything else don't necessarily need. Ship to, this is important because this will calculate the freight. Usually, a lot of the times with Magic Aire, they'll just give us either a model number, a serial number, or not even that. Just I just need a horizontal belt drive 5-ton fan coil, and that's all the information that they'll have. So to save some time, Magic Aire makes this. They're really nice because they have flat rates for freight. So if it's Sigler, I'll just put the zip code for Brea, their main office, or if it's US Air, I'll just use their zip code, because no matter wherever it is in California, it'll be the same freight rate. So I'll put the zip code of the job name or of the job, or I'll just by default do the zip code of the office, because the freight is the same no matter where you go. And then here is a space for notes and comments, and this is pretty important. We usually have this standard verbiage that we put, and I will copy and paste it from a note that I just have saved. It's basically like a disclaimer that customer needs to double check the code string, because Magic Aire equipment is non-returnable. It's all custom built, and basically lays that all out. And quotes are good for 30 days. Links to the lead time bulletin, stuff like that. So I will always cut and paste that into this little field right here. Performance defaults, default values for entering water temperatures, design conditions. I just leave all that alone. And then now we get to the actual selecting of the fan coils. So I'll leave a link to this schedule, so if you want to follow along. But this is a nice job where we are laid out, and it's pretty simple. They have old Magic Aire model numbers, but we can easily cross this over to a current one. And they actually do have looks like they're replacing old Magic Aire with new. So they actually have the complete model number string, which is super helpful for us. But I'm going to walk through how I would normally select this if I didn't have that. So just looking at the first line, so they have a 60 BHW-4 And on the new, it's HBB 20 ABA, 2000 CFM, 1-inch external. It's a belt drive, etc., etc. So I'm going to go into our software. It says double click here to configure a new item. You'll soon find out that the software is not super intuitive, but once you do a ton of these, it becomes second nature. So I'll double click here. It'll bring me to the next screen, and it'll tell me which model I want to start off with. So you'll see that there's basically Magic Aire falls into different categories of fan coil. You have your horizontal, vertical, direct drive, and belt drive. And then there's some other derivatives of that, but basically it's belt drive, direct drive, horizontal, vertical, and then we have one outdoor fan coil, and basically everything else is indoor. But once you can narrow it down to that, you can branch off to the different fan coils. So I know this is an HBB, which is a horizontal belt drive. So I'm going to double click that, or you can hit check this and then hit continue. But if you do a ton of these, it's easier just to double click. So I know it's a 510, so I'm going to go down here to the size 20, double click, and it'll jump down to the next field and make me select, what type of coil, and so on and so on. So you'll get the hang of this once you do a ton of these. So the old model number, this tells me it's a 4-row, and then if you go here, it says it's chilled water. So it looks like from here it says there's 2 separate fan coils, so it's a 4-pipe system. It has its own dedicated chilled water and hot water coil. So the chilled water is a 4-row, and the hot water is a single row. So I will go and select 4-row coil treatment. So this is, and some of the software tries to be helpful, lets you know what the different options are. We don't see a lot of these, mostly because they will want to use their own coil coater. Sometimes we'll get stainless steel coating or stainless steel casings for the actual coils, but maybe 95% of the time, no coil treatment. TXV does not apply because we're using chilled water, but we can do these with DX coils, and then the different TXV options will show up here, but just click no TXV. Secondary coil, so I know from the schedule they want a single row hot water coil, so double click there. And you'll see that there's different options for heating. We do electric heat, usually in Nevada, where it's still legal. I don't think you can do it here in California. And we do steam. I've never seen a steam application. So a lot of the time, 99% of the time, it's hot water coils. Coil configuration. So how these are set up in the fan coil, whether it's preheat or a reheat configuration. So preheat, obviously the hot water coil is going to come first, and then the chilled water. Or in a reheat configuration, you have your chilled water first, and then your heating coil after that. And then we also do left hand and right hand connections, and we also do opposite end connections. So if you have supply on one side and then return on the other side, we can do that as well. A lot of times we're not going to know this information, so I will just go with preheat right hand and then just leave it on the customer to verify. Voltage, let's see what the voltage is on the schedule. It is 277 single phase. We don't see a lot of those, but that's what they call out for. Filter type, so we can do, we have a 2-inch filter rack, and we can do MERV 3 or MERV 8. A lot of the times they want to put a MERV 13 in there because that's what's required by code. So sometimes I'll just do MERV 3 because it's no cost and because they're just going to throw those out anyways. So use that. And then these are the different accessories. So there's a lot here. Let's look at the schedule, see if they ask for anything. There's notes. Disconnects, wall-mounted thermostat, stainless steel cool. Okay, so here we go. Stainless steel cooling coil casing. So that's where we have to go back here. And coil treatment, so they do want coil casings. And there's two options, single coil and two coils. We do have two coils. We have a separate hot water and chilled water coil, so I'm going to select that. Now the crappy thing about this software is that once you change something, it clears out everything else, so you do have to go back and reselect everything else. So it's best to know what you're going to select. What are their MERV 13? So they're asking for MERV 13. We don't have a factory option, so that will be on the customer to provide those. Provide new valve train for each fan coil as detailed. So we do have valve packages. So they have a chilled water and a hot water for this fan coil. So I'll go ahead and select one for each. Double click that and then double click that to add it. So before we move on, it looks like we're done. We're actually not. There's another tab here, performance, and you'll notice that the code string is not complete yet. There's a bunch of X's, so that we have to configure the rest of it based on the performance. So let's go back. 2000 CFM, 1 inch of static. Go ahead, 2000 CFM, 1 inch external. And sometimes this will pop up telling you that, okay, based on these conditions, the motor's too small. You have to jump up and just say okay. And then here, this is your water conditions. So 45 is default. So they do want 45. 75.5 and 63.6 is our entering. Air conditions, 75.5 and 63.6. And then our flow rate, they have 13. We'll put in 13. And then on the heating side, 180. And then entering air, they have 60. Entering air is 60 degrees. And then for flow rate, they have 4. And then I'll hit recalc, and then the software will calculate the performance based on those conditions. And then you just want to get close. So they have leaving. So obviously the engineer, so somebody worked with the engineer to get these values because everything lines up perfectly, which is great. This is probably why this is a good example, but a lot of times you're going to cross over to somebody else, and a lot of this is based off of thermodynamics and what we're capable of doing with just a standard 4-row chilled water coil or a single row. All the manufacturers are different, but we'll get close. Sometimes you'll have to jump up to the next size. But just for an example, this is how we select a Magic Air fan coil and price these up. I'll accept. You have to fully configure the rest of the options. So we'll scroll down. Installation type. So standard is the no cost. I think it's like a 1 inch, 1 inch installation or ½ inch, and then you can go above that if they need to. Motor starter option. So this is only on the HBB. I will always include this because it'll give the contractor all the options. It'll give you 24 volt terminal for adding a thermostat. It'll give you the motor start stop for starting the fan coil, and I'll leave a link to all the submittal information for this. I always include it because it just makes it easier for the customer. There's disconnects in there as well. Drain pan, plastic or stainless steel. They ask for stainless steel, so I'll add that. I usually just add that regardless. If they want to value engineer it, they can just go throw that out. But it's just better to include that. This is just Magic Aire's, C. It's a minor revision. So every time they update this, they'll just go C, then D. And then tracking, I don't know. I have no idea to this day what this is for, but you just have to select that. And then we're done. And then you just hit accept. And then there's a bunch of other fan calls, but just for the sake of showing how this works, I'll go ahead and save this. It's best to be super organized. So, and I'll usually, depending on if there's multiple people asking for it, I'll put that all in a separate folder, because depending on the distributor, they'll get different multipliers. But we'll go over that. So I'll hit File, Print Preview, Sales Order. So this. So before I do that, for pricing, this is where we put our multipliers. Sigler and US Air has the best multiplier just because we do a lot of business with them. We want to hook them up and give them the best multiplier. So 0.392 is their standard multiplier. The default for everybody else is 0.42, so which is why I leave it there. But since this is for, let's pretend Sigler, we'll change the multiplier there to 0.392. So when I export the quote sheet, the freight charges pop up. So this is why I always put the zip code beforehand. You can do it here as well, but you'll see that standard shipping is zone 3. So they divide the country by zones. Depending on which zone you're in, the freight is different. So it's a percentage of the master list price. I'll hit OK, and then this is the print preview of what it will look like, the quote sheet. So here is all the information I put in beforehand. The distributor, who I'm quoting it to. This is the ship to zip code, and then here's those all that verbiage that I put before, and then here is the actual unit, and then the next page shows this is the list, and then after the multiplier, and then with the freight, this is the cost to the distributor. So this is how much they're buying it through Magic Aire. Let's go ahead and save that and call this pricing. And then the other thing I like to, or we send out, is the job details. Before I do that, I will always uncheck this, because usually they'll send this part to their customer. It has the weight and the performance information, the selection information. So here's 2000 CFM, 1 inch of static, the motor, RPM, brake horsepower. So they're getting a 1 horsepower motor probably. Let's see, should say, yeah, right here, 1 horsepower. And then here's all the performance information. This is the total and sensible, and then total heat right here, heating right here, and all that other stuff. So I will export to PDF. So, everything is PDF these days. Selection, and then I will hit save, and then that's it. And then I will go ahead and send that over to the customer. And then I'll just show you another, since this had the model number, I'll go ahead and copy it. If you do have this or on a existing and you want to price up a replacement, you can just copy that entire model number string. Right click here, it's not obvious, but you can add by model code. And if you just paste that model number and hit OK, it'll save you the trouble of going, step by step, because somebody already did the selection for the engineer. Just hit accept and then you're done, which is nice. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. As you can see, it's pretty simple to select the Magic Aire fan coils once you have enough information, and once you get used to the software, you can fly through these selections and price up an entire job in a matter of minutes. If you found this video valuable, please send it to somebody that would get some use out of this. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.